Radio check. Loud and clear.
KSL Sports and KSL Podcast present Mode Push, an American view of F1, starting now.
I'm stuck. He's making cut with his honestly.
I'm gutted. I'm absolutely gutted.
I enjoyed this so much. Thank you.
All right, everybody, welcome on in. It's another edition of Mode Push, an American view of F1. It's our F1 podcast right here in the good old US of A. Alex Curie here, Dan Jimenez on the other side of the ether. Both of us having enjoyed the first American race of the season. Well, at least the first American hosted race of the season. Dan, what's up, man? We got a weekend because it was just different than what we thought it was going to turn out to be.
Yeah, it was incredible. Nothing beats, I think, a first win for a driver. The emotion, no matter who it is, most of the time, no matter who it is, you're just happy to see him win. And it's a stark difference from, watching Max win his, 40th win. And the emotion was high. It was cool. Such a cool weekend.
It was almost as if Max himself was like, his radio message, I think, afterwards was like, yeah, it happens. They were like, yeah, because they come on the radio and they go, sorry we couldn't get it done. It was, but amazing. Had a good weekend. You won the sprint. And it's like, you don't need to remind him he won. Like, they're trying to, sell it to him like you actually had a pretty good weekend. He wasn't mad. He goes, yeah, it happens. And I think partly it's kind of across the board, the entirety of the F1 grid knew how long. Lando has always been really, really young. And then suddenly he hit 150 Grand Prix starts, and he was always the bridesmaid, but it just so happened that a nicely placed safety car and a nicely placed bollard by the Miami GP race organizers first for the virtual safety car for Max, and then of course the full safety car that you ended up getting after the collision between K-Mag and Logan Sargent. This is what it sounded like. Lando's very first win in F1.
It's a landmark day for Lando. Lando Norris wins for the first time in Formula One. It's victory in Miami for Norris and McLaren.
You've done it, mate. You've done it.
Oh, about time. I love you all. Thank you so much. We did it, Will. We did it.
There you go. There's the call. It was exactly what you thought it was going to sound like from, the kid who finally got that win, and it was awesome. It was really cool. Where's McLaren's pace really, though? Well, I think what's amazing to me was, I don't know, Dan. I was like, as soon as they came out, and he had a 20-something second lead, but then the safety car had to do its thing, and then everybody kind of ended up, kind of getting right behind him, and I thought, oh shoot, I wish they would have restarted the race and he had a 25-second lead, but with Max right behind him, he was able to keep him at bay and even stretch out that lead to 6 seconds, I think, by the end of the whole thing. I think Red Bull and the tire management and all of that just was not their weekend. At least for a Grand Prix win. I don't know. Is the rest of the field closing in on Red Bull a little bit quicker than we thought?
I do think they are closing in. McLaren was just straight up fast the entire weekend. It didn't really show in the sprint race. Norris, I think he was out in the first corner.
He got pushed out. He
didn't put together like a super great qualifying either. I think the whole weekend, the mediums and the softs were really temperamental. And teams are trying to figure out which ones they could go quickest on in qualifying. But man, as soon as that safety car went out, like Norris was like showing incredible pace on those medium tires at the end of his first stint after Max had hit. And people were starting, the commentators were starting to take notice of that. We're reaching lap 30 something before he pit, and they're like, man, Norris is still as quick on those old mediums as Max is on these hards to start out with. Right. But at that time, at that point, he had already hit. Max had hit that bollard, And, the post-race analysis shows that, he tore up the bottom side of his car a little bit. And it's probably, impossible to know how much that affects his overall pace. It's going to affect it some. But, yeah, to answer your question, McLaren is quick. They brought 10 different upgrades, I believe, this weekend, all over the car. And, those seem to have helped a bunch. And Imola is going to be another, test for us to see how close they really are to Red Bull. But yeah, even if Max had not had that floor damage, I don't believe he would have caught and passed Lando. Lando, once he was out front, he was as quick as or more quick than the Red Bull was out in front of Oscar in that first stint.
Yeah, Oscar Piastri also got some damage in his collision, and of course that ended up being the death of his race, because he was actually the guy who was, if you had the Papaya team kind of up there and somebody maybe winning that race, it was kind of him the whole race, because he was the one who was ahead and he was battling. I liked all the battles were good. This isn't a racetrack with a lot of, great passing. But it seemed like there was a lot of good battles, not just at the beginning of normally it's like, oh, shoot, if they don't have a good battle in the first, 2 or 3 laps and it's over with, and then we're not going to see any fun racing the rest of the way. We have to see highlights of battles for 13th and 14th. But the reality is it was actually really, it was kind of fun. It was fun to watch Nico Hülkenberg go back and forth with freaking Lewis Hamilton. Like it was fun to watch all these different battles across the whole thing. Yuki Tsunoda is quietly becoming a darn good racer, and I hope that people are noticing that, and certainly I hope people at Red Bull are noticing that, because he's putting together quite he's having some nice races, and I think that it's guys like him, it's guys like even Charles Leclerc. I'm looking at it, and he had a pretty darn good day, despite the fact that Ferrari did not have They probably had the third fastest car out there, and they finished 3rd and 5th. It was a pretty good day for Ferrari, and I think that they're looking forward to going back to Italy, and so they're probably going to bring some significant upgrades there, and I think everybody's just getting a little closer.
Yeah, I agree. I need to eat some crow, because I kind of came down hard on Miami in our last episode, saying that it's probably the one track I would be okay with taking, or the first track I would vote off the circuit, but the numbers show that it actually is up there in terms of number of passes per race.
It was quite fun.
And they've got I always forget that first DRS section turns it kind of where the Oscar and Carlos first kind of came together when Oscar ran Carlos wide. That first DRS section has a lot of passing, and then you've obviously got the super long straight down the back that is a double DRS into the first corner. And there's a lot of competitive. I'm laughing at Lewis Hamilton. I swear I did not see him this weekend not side by side with, or nose to tail with Haas.
Right.
The entire weekend he was getting pestered by Haas, which was, they must hate. But it was pretty funny to watch.
It is funny. It also kind of shows
that
I know K-Mag, poor guy, had an awful weekend. Although he made the sprint race quite fun too, because he was, he was going back and forth. He was just, there's that meme of the guy that's, the water polo player who's dumping water on his face, and it was just K-Mag with all of his penalties basically this entire weekend. I know everybody's like, oh, this is a weekend he wants to forget. And I'm going, well, I don't know, because he was on the screen a lot, he was on the screen a lot. And at the very least, when Lewis Hamilton tried to pass him in the sprint race, I think that was in the sprint. When Lewis tried to pass him in the sprint, and immediately he came right back at him, and he just put his elbows out. And you have Lewis going, he tried to push me off. He tried to push me off right there. He tried to push me off. It's okay, they're going to, the stewards will look at it. He's like, oh, he gained an advantage. He needs to give that place back. It's I'm so sick of people saying that. That's such a, right now, Mercedes has a couple of guys in their cars who are just yelling, they need to give that place back. That's not a good place to be as a race team, I decided. When people are passing you and just you're saying, you need to give that place back. Yuki Tsunoda split the Mercedes this weekend. And that's in your, what do they call it? I don't even know what they call it right now. Your RBV card.
The customer team, yeah.
Whatever. bottom line is Red Bull is putting together. You know, I think quietly you're seeing their second team show up. And even, I mean, Nico Hülkenberg is showing why he's going, you know, from Haas to Audi. And I think, you know, it's kind of interesting because I think he was out of the sport for a minute and we all just kind of went, yeah, you don't get back in and find your old form, but he's a racer, man. And it helps to have that Ferrari engine in the back of your car these days if you're a Haas driver. I'm kind of sad because I feel like K-Mag's not long for he's not long for Haas, but who knows?
No, I mean, K-Mag is like the NBA player that is like, I get 6 fouls every game and I'm going to use them up. Like, like he knows that he's like 12 penalty points is what you get before you get kicked out of a race. You know, you have to sit a race.
If we're going to go the NBA,
he's at like 10.
If we're going to go the NBA comparison, he's earning the veteran minimum. He's just on a bench.
Exactly.
You know, and like he comes in and the coach is like, all right, we're going to need you to go out there. We know you're not going to score 30 points tonight. We need you to go out there and put your elbows on somebody. And to his credit, he's at least doing it. But a couple of things. So the race, I can't even remember what my podium was. I should have written this stuff down. But you and I predicted our podiums, and I could say pretty clearly that I did not think that Lando was going to win that race. I think if we have the podiums. If Max isn't at the very top step, we usually have him not on it at all, just because we assume that it's because his car broke. But not the case.
Shout out to my wife that reminded me on Sunday that I had guessed, I guess Max, Lando, and Fernando. So I was one off on Lando. But yeah, same thing. It's like if Max doesn't win, it's because something happened. But that didn't really happen. I mean, the safety car thing, yes. But, I mean, races are won like that all the time. That's not like – there's no asterisks on this win for Lando. It's, you know, they played the strategy to just go as long as they could. He managed his tires, and you increase your probability of getting a safety car the longer you can stay out. So, like, he and the team get all the credit for playing the strategy right. And, it, you know, the cards fell their way. But, yeah, they made the most out of it. So yeah, Lando, it's just so cool to see. And man, I don't care who you are. It is hilarious that Donald Trump was in the McLaren garage before the race and Lando got his first win. That is like, you can't script that. It's hilarious.
Well, no, if you ask Trump and his people, they scripted it. Like, this is exactly what we knew would happen. Like, we just, you know, what's that Ricky Bobby line? I feel like Trump is the Ricky Bobby of politics. You know, I just wake up, I piss excellence. You know, I knew we were gonna be winners. And when he threw out the whole line about how as soon as they fired Checo, they were gonna start winning, it was like,
oh my gosh, so on point. Just the whole thing. It was, and he's like. And I love that the FIA is like, okay, we're going to host the former president of the United States. Which team should we have him go to? How about the orange one? Yeah, that'd be funny.
Orange team, that makes sense. Oh, I mean, I guess I'm sure that he probably has had some text exchanges over the years with Zach Brown because they made it sound like that they know each other or whatever. But I mean, whatever. It's fine. But yeah, you're not going to find him in the Haas garage. I mean, my goodness, what would he be doing over there?
Right. Yeah.
All right. So it ended up. The points were distributed as follows: Lando, Max, and Charles. That's your podium. Checo, I don't know what to think of that guy, but fourth place for Checo.
Jeez. Okay, hold on one sec. The luckiest person this weekend was Checo Perez.
Yes,
because
he didn't rear end his teammate.
2 centimeters from taking them both out. In the first corner, in the Max's face in that cool down room when they get to watch the replay.
He couldn't believe it.
That's my favorite part of the race is when those guys get to see the like what happened that they missed during the race. And Max's face is just like of just sheer surprise and shock, and it just how did he not hit Max? It was incredible.
And I think afterward too, I was listening to, I don't know if I was listening to a podcast or it was just like during the broadcast. Lando goes, yeah, I mean, and I almost got taken out by Checo. Well, we all almost did. He was like, basically, well, we all, everybody is just sitting there. Like, I feel like that's how I would have started an F1 race.
That was like Roman Grosjean circa 2017.
Just bombing it. They're like, when are you going to brake? He's like, not in the first corner. Certainly not in the first corner. Why would I? I was in second place for this long. It was amazing.
Yeah, and then I think it was at the sprint race where Lewis dive bombed everybody
Yes.
into the first corner. That I do not know why Lewis. I know that they like are more lenient. The stewards are more lenient on contact in the first corner because they know it's just so
it's
crowded.
wild, yeah.
But he totally missed his breaking point, and not only did he go for a gap in front of him, he went for a gap like 2 rows in front of where he had started. And yeah, he totally overdrove it. And I can't remember who's right. I guess that's the one that resulted in Lando getting spun.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think he should have got a penalty for that.
That's always my favorite when they listen to the radio of Lewis, and he's obviously the one who's the perpetrator, and he'll go, "I had nowhere to go. He didn't leave me any room," and you're like, "Yeah, right, dude. Like you just killed everybody there." But everybody gets in there and they start angling their argument like with their team already. My favorite is when they say, "Tell the stewards, tell the stewards what I just watched." All right, worst team of the weekend has to be Williams. I know that Logie. It wasn't his fault technically. I guess K-Mag was the one who got the penalty for that and put him into the wall, but he still didn't have a great weekend. But Alex Albon finished 18th. I think we forget that like he's supposed to be one of the better racers, and I don't know. They've got that Mercedes power in the back of the car, and there was a moment this weekend during a Formula 4 race in Italy, and yes, we check these kinds of things, okay, where a commentator in Italian basically let slip that, what's his name? What do they call him? Kiki Antonelli?
Kimi. The return of Kimi. Kimi Antonelli.
Kimi Antonelli. I wanted it to be Kiki. Kimi Antonelli is going to be joining the W. And then he stopped at the W and said, "Well, I'm not going to finish that sentence." And so everybody kind of took it as, "All right, we're going to make this announcement pretty quick here, probably when this break happens." And I mean, he's not going to be. I don't know. What does that mean? Is Logan Sargent going to be out of the seat even before the end of the season? Then?
Yeah, the rumor I had heard was that the Imola is when they were going to make the replacement, but it sounds like they need to get some sort of exemption from the FIA because Antonelli's only 17 years old.
Oh,
so
wow.
I think Max had his first start before he was 18.
He did
too. So it's not unprecedented, but yeah, I just am bummed for Logan. You know, he has not performed. Obviously, he probably should not have gotten signed to a second year, but we know that for sure now. I just wish his last race wasn't his home race getting punted by K-Mag, you know?
Yeah, and it is what it is, right? And he certainly has not earned the seat that he's in now. But Toto Wolff says that Antonelli's not going to be making his F1 debut. That's at least according to Toto. But most people I don't believe you. Like the full on like the Ron Burgundy meme, like, I don't believe you. Like we don't think this is happening. Like you guys, they need a spark, obviously. And if that guy's going to be, well, here's the other thing. If he's going to end up being on the big team at some point, you want him in that Williams seat as soon as you can get him there. And you need him in there logging the hours. He's already been, in Italy, kind of with the test on the Mercedes car anyway. Yeah. And so he's been doing laps of
real laps.
And
yeah.
So I mean, he's already there. I think that the writing's on the wall. Whatever it is, it's like at some point you want that guy to be the future, so you have to just make it happen anyway.
Yeah. And if you're Toto Wolff, like I think the question you're trying to answer right now is could he be ready in time to take the Mercedes seat next year? Because he's got an open seat with Lewis leaving. So I think that you cut bait with Logan right now. You get him in there, you run the summer with him, see how he's progressing, and then make a decision on whether to sign him to the Mercedes seat the next year or to go out and sign another, a Lewis or not Lewis, someone like
a K-Mag,
Carlos or K-Mag, yeah, Carlos or Valtteri or somebody like that to fill the seat for a year while Antonelli continues to develop. So,
here's the
they got to do that now.
I'm reading it from today. This is being reported today. An unnamed team has sought permission from the FIA, which is what you need. They just need a sign off of it from the FIA to be able to have a 17-year-old race, which is not unprecedented, but they just need that permission. But they did say that an unnamed team did make a request to the FIA. So take a wild freaking guess.
There it is.
Yeah. And whether or not that's for this weekend or if it's just, I mean, I think that's you just have to rip that Band-Aid off. You have to. And I don't know. And it's just another one of those things. Why have we suddenly moved off of Ollie Behrman? Just because he's a Ferrari Academy guy, like, wouldn't they be thinking about putting him in K-Mag's seat at Haas, or what are we doing? That guy had an amazing weekend, and suddenly we forgot his name.
Right. Yeah, we haven't talked about him since. Yeah, Haas, a good option. Sauber, one more year, but they're only going to be. Well, I guess Audi technically might have ownership already, even though they're a Ferrari engine customer. I don't know what they would do with that second seat if they would allow like a future Ferrari like Academy driver
that's weird,
take that seat for a year or not. Yeah. But it seems like Ferrari just has the complete hold on him, grip, and they're not going to let him go to any competitors in the meantime. Just let him continue to race F2.
Yeah, weird moments in F1, but the first of many dominoes to fall in the drivers market. But we head to Europe, and we start to get the European tour of the Drivers' Championship for this year. And so, let me ask you a couple questions, Dan, because these are burning. Give me a true false here, and give me an explanation. True or false? A Mercedes car is going to win a race this season.
False.
Okay. They don't have it. Like, they're not even close, right?
Yeah, they're not even close. They're not in the top 4.
Okay. An Aston Martin car is going to win a race this season.
Gosh. Maybe. Better chance than Mercedes.
Same engine.
But
Same engine.
Same engine. Fernando could find himself in a raining. Didn't he almost win? He was in position to win Monaco last year.
Yes.
If he had hit one lap sooner and put the wets on, he would have won Monaco. Now they were more ahead of the rest of the average of the field this time last year than they are this year. But I think when the rain comes down, Fernando's one of the best. So I would say a possibility.
So here's my other favorite lie that's being told on the paddock by team principals. Since we're already there with Toto. So the big news, of course, was Adrian Newey and him leaving Red Bull at the end of the year. So the big PR move, I can just, one, because I'm in the business already, but two, we've watched enough Drive to Survive to know, like, when that spokesperson like is standing next to the team principal, and they're like, or the driver, and they go, "We're going to say this is going to be our message," and like they're just basically saying, "Here are the lies we're going to tell while we're up there." And of all the times that Christian Horner was asked about Adrian Newey over the weekend, which is a lot, his line was, "Oh yeah, this has been coming down the pipe for a long time. Like, he's he's getting older, and he's going to step away from the sport for a while." Like, nobody in their mind believes that Adrian Newey is going to retire from F1. Like, that's not happening. No one believes it. And it just sounds stupid. Don't say, one, we knew this was happening for a long time. Or if you're going to say that and say that line, Christian, by the way, it's you. Like, no one wants to say it, but everyone's going to know it. It's you. That's the reason he's leaving a little bit early, right? No one wants to be on a team with this dude running it. And so he's like, look, oh no, this wasn't coming down the pipeline for a long time. But then also don't add to it, he's walking away from the sport when you know very well that he is going to be on this paddock. He's just going to be wearing red next year. Yeah,
that's all. Yeah, press coaching and managing the message.
But it's so stupid to lie like that, though. Don't do it. Just go, I'm not sure what his plans are. He hasn't been, totally clear with us on sharing all those things, but we wish him well. Just say that. Don't go, he's going to retire from the sport. He's walking away from F1. And then they go, well, and why would you want to walk away from, multiple championships and, the winning car? This is the fastest team. It's like, we'll take a wild freaking guess why. Take a wild guess why. Yeah. Who wants to work for you and Helmut Marko? That's nobody.
Yeah,
and
maybe that puts a chip on Adrian Newey's shoulder to go prove him wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna go retire. Sure. I'm trying to think of other storylines that are coming out of that came out of Miami that I really, really loved, except for
how about the food prices is one.
That was something that was talked about in our chat, right? And I guess I was just thought it was the same across the board, but I guess race organizers in each place can do whatever they want. But somebody that we know took pictures of the food prices down in Miami, And when you're talking, and by the way, like, the fish finger basket is kind of what we're talking about, like a combo meal between $100 and even $250.
Yeah, yeah. I saw that it was at the Hard Rock Cafe, which apparently you have to pay to get into. Like, I don't know. It wasn't like the general admissions concessions, but it was like a step up from that. But yeah, like $200 nachos. So very different vibe than what I heard from you in Vegas, which was like the food was included with everything.
Well, yeah, no, we went. If you bought that general admission, like, magenta zone ticket, I remember walking around because, we had already snuck into the VIP lobster thermidor tent anyway. So, but when we went, like, they were going to open these food courts, and I was like, they don't have any prices up here. This is going to be a disaster. And we walked up there, and the lady goes, "Oh no, it's all free. You can just keep coming back and getting it." Now, it was all hand food. It was like hot dogs and, Wolfgang Puck, pizza slices and things like that. But it was all you could eat, and the people just walking around with drinks too. And you were saying it was even different for you in Singapore as well.
Yeah, Singapore was like your normal sporting event concessions. It was like, $20 for a decent meal. So that wasn't too surprising. But there's so many places to eat at just immediately outside of the track too. So, I think we only ate inside of the track once.
Well, that was hilarious. I guess I just got a little bit of hope that the racing this year was going to be a lot more closely contested than we had originally thought. Last year was such a disaster the entire season that kind of signing ourselves up. This is what F1 needed. Another race winner. Oh, here's another true false for you. Lando will win another race. This season, I'm going
to go true. Yeah, okay. I'm going to go true. I think that what he showed is that it's not that you have to count on a Red Bull DNF or a Max DNF. It's that like Max has to be perfect, which he normally is, but he has to be absolutely perfect now. The margin of error for them is to not guarantee a win is small as it's ever been. So I'm going to say yes. Lando wins another race. And I'm not going to call full fight for the championship, but I think Max has somebody breathing down his neck a little bit.
Okay, I'm trying to think of other things that caught my attention. No, the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix coming up on May 19th. So we got a couple of weeks until that one fires up again. But yeah, this is I've got a new version of hope for the sport here, Dan, as we got through this last weekend. It was really, really fun. So, yeah, if you don't have anything else, man, I guess, I don't know. You tell me. Are there other stories I should be excited about?
We need to hit the official name of this Grand Prix, which is the most ridiculous of any Grand Prix. It is the Formula One Qatar Airways Gran Premio del Made in Italy della Emiliana Romagna 2024. That is the official name of this race.
Hold on a minute. Where did you find this? I guess
I found it on Reddit, but like I just searched like the full name. It's incredible how long it is.
Hey, you know this. You pay for it, and so you go. You better put the real freaking name on the top of this thing. What's funny is when you go to the website, when you go to the F1 website, they're like, we don't. Oh no, yeah, here it is. The Formula One MCS or MSC Cruises Gran Premio del Made in Italy.
I love the Made in Italy stuck in the middle of all the other Italian.
So stupid. Oh my gosh. Well, here's hoping for some rainy races in Europe, which is what we're hoping. This time of year, we're praying for some wets at some point.
Yeah. One other call out was for those that didn't catch it, this last week was the 30-year anniversary of Ayrton Senna's fatal crash at Imola. So that's the next track we're going to. For newer F1 fans, I'm sure you've heard of Ayrton Senna, but he was like 3-time champ. He had won, I think, 3 of the previous 4 years championships.
Yes. About
30 or 40 all-time wins. He was pretty much where Max is today in terms of like dominance of the sport and the streak that he was on. And, then, they go to Imola and, there's a lot of kind of debate and speculation on what exactly happened, but he, essentially lost it coming off one of the high speed corners. And that was that. And this was, predates a lot of the safety measures that we have today, particularly the Hans device that all the drivers wear that was developed after Dale Earnhardt's wreck. And, I was just seeing a clip, a TikTok of the day that Ayrton Senna died. The NASCAR was racing at Talladega, and they announced the passing of Ayrton Senna during the race, and they did like a 5-lap, like no commentators speaking, just only the in-car video and audio for like as a moment of respect. And then Dale Earnhardt won that race, and his whole victory lane speech was about Ayrton Senna, which was just kind of freaky to know, like, 9 years later, we'd lose Dale as well. And it was just pretty wild to be reminded of that. So I'm sure that a lot of that will be brought back up in the broadcasts at the race next week. But yeah, 30 years since that happened.
They did
if you haven't, I was going to say, if you haven't seen it, the Senna documentary, there's a Senna documentary already on Netflix, and I think they're doing a new one.
Yeah, his sister did I think ESPN or maybe F1 overall did it. I think I saw it on ESPN. They have that Ayrton Senna is Eternal, like, mini documentary they did, and they spoke with his sister Vivian, who is featured quite heavily in the documentary itself on Netflix. But that's kind of one of the first things that I saw F1 related when I was a kid, that I was like, oh, this is a huge deal. Like, I knew who this dude was, and I remember thinking, because you also had a driver die the day before during qualifying at the very same track. And so to have this freak accident happen, and then to have the biggest star in the sport die the next day during the race was, unthinkable. And thankfully, we don't have that type of stuff happen in the sport that often anymore. So it's a reminder, though, that these guys are going 200 miles an hour. Like, when they show the speeds, just pay attention to the speeds that they reach. Not just the top speed, but how quickly they go from going around a corner, by the way, at 90 miles an hour to when they get to 190 miles an hour. Like, it is in the blink of an eye. And so the 1,000 horsepower is still something to be not something to be taken lightly. So yeah, that's a good point. So go out and check it out, and you can also go see that Ayrton Senna is Eternal mini documentary. It was really, really cool too, to see what his sister had to say about kind of everything. So all right, Dan, that's gonna do it for us this week. So for Dan Jimenez, I'm Alex Curie. We'll be back again next week. We will be previewing the race. Of course, it's going to be happening at that really, really long name of a race in Imola for the Gran Premio della Cruise Lines Made in Italy. I'm sure the people in Italy love Made in Italy being said right in the middle of it. All right. Dan, we'll talk to you next week, man.
Looking forward to it.
All right, there you go. We'll be back again, everybody. Download the podcast, tell a friend, teach a neighbor about F1, and we'll see you then, everybody.